Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, guys? Back Cash Counter Sports back here today. Today we're going to be talking about my friends league here at home. This is called the Love Island Fantasy League. We do a keeper league here. So before we get into the recap of my draft and what I think I can done better, what I could improve upon, first I'm going to talk about the different specific league setup rules that we have. So start off, we're on ESPN Fantasy. But we like to do our draft on Sleeper and then just transfer it over to ESPN. It's much easier that way. We think Sleeper is a much better platform when it comes to drafting, so that's what we use. So we have standard stuff to start. We're just 12 team, which is the optimal amount of teams for fantasy football, in my opinion. We're full PPR, head-to-head scoring, normal stuff. We do no divisions. We decided to go with no divisions simply because we want the best 8 teams to make the playoffs no matter what. We don't want your team playing worse opponents and being able to make the playoffs that way. So we just decided to go with no divisions. Best 8 teams with the best record is going to make the playoffs. And obviously, to have some fun with your fantasy league, we have the buy-in and a punishment. And so our buy-in, third place will make his money back. Second place will win a free buy-in for next year. And first place will win the rest of the pot. So that's how we break it down. And then when it comes to roster construction, we have the normal 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 defense, 1 kicker. And the only difference is we decided to go with 3 wide receivers. The reason we decided to go with this is simply because we wanted to balance out the running back and receiver position. We feel like if it's just 2 running back and 2 receiver, more people are going to heavily favor the running back position when it comes to drafting wise. So now that you have to start an extra wide receiver every week, it really makes you wonder, do I want to take these receivers right now? This more relates to the underdog fantasy drafts when they're starting 3 receivers every week and you see those receivers get pushed up the draft boards. So moving into that, we also have some other special rules for our keeper league, which as you'll see, first off, we get to keep 2 guys every year. 1 guy will count from rounds 1 through 8. And 1 guy from rounds 9 through 17. So this is based upon the draft from the previous year. So when I show the draft board, I'm going to show the keepers that everybody had first and where they were taken. So like my keeper, last year I took Travis Kelce in the first round. So this year I kept Travis Kelce as my first round pick. Now this is different for other guys. Like my one friend, he got to keep Tony Pollard from the 7th round because that's where he was drafted last year, which is a very big steal, obviously, since he's going in the 2nd round this year. So we wanted to minimize people having the insane values in the 1st round, but also, like, you need to hit your sleepers and you have a nice pick from the last round. And then our different rule for the waiver pickups. If you pick up a guy that was not drafted last year, but, like, he was just on waivers, so if you pick up a guy off the waivers, he can count as either your 8th round pick, so he can be your early keeper, or he can be your 9th round pick as your late keeper. We thought having your waiver pickups as being a guy like kept in the 17th round, we thought that was a little too overpowered. Just like a couple years back, remember James Robinson? He was going extremely high, and like he would have been kept as a 17th round pick. We thought that was way too overpowered, so we decided to change that. So that's how our keeper system works, 1 from the early rounds and 1 from the late rounds. And then draft order selection. So we do this based off reverse standings and the winner of the toilet bowl. So the winner of the toilet bowl, they will get to pick where of the 12 spots that they want to pick. So the guy this year, the guy that won the toilet bowl, he decided that he wanted the first overall pick. This worked better with his values from the keeper standpoint. So he wanted to go with the first pick. And then, but guys that have like a better first round keeper like me with Travis Kelce, I want to pick towards the end of the round because Travis Kelce's usually not getting taken until like around pick 6, 7. So in this draft, I got Travis Kelce at the 11th pick because of my keeper. So that's some good value that I get to stand on. So the toilet bowl standings, the winner of the toilet bowl, he gets to pick where in the draft he wants to pick. Then the 2nd place, then 3rd place, then 4th place in the toilet bowl. Then after that, it's the teams that did the worst in the playoffs. So the team, but we do it off scoring points. That way you don't like, oh, I see I'm obviously going to lose, so I'm going to take out the rest of my guys and throw for next year. We want to encourage scoring as many points as you can all the time. So we say, of the first round of playoff losers, the guy who scored the most points for his team, they get to choose then fifth, where in the order that they want to be, and so on and so forth. That's the same for then the second round, and then the last round. Obviously, the winner gets to choose, doesn't get a choice. He gets the last pick, or he gets to pick, like, the selection of the spots. So that's how all of the certain rules within our Love Island Keeper Draft. Our group name is called Love Island. That's all we use our name by. That's what our league's called. That's what we've always gone by. And so now we're going to jump into the draft portion, and we're going to take a look at some of these mistakes that I made and some things that I can prove on and some things that I think I did really well for this draft. All right, so moving over to the draft board. This board currently here, this shows all of the keepers that were for our draft this year. As I was telling you before, the first guy, he decided to go with pick 1 simply because he didn't have a good keeper. And there's some big names still on the board, simply like Jamar Chase is still on the board, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill. So he wanted to go with first pick and have a nice selection. And he had some great values here. Olave in the 7th and Dameon Pierce in the 10th. That's some good value in my opinion. Second guy, he had also some decent value. Saquon Barkley in the 2-11 and T. Law in the 9th pick. Not bad value in my opinion. Team 3 didn't have the best keepers. Breece Hall in the 3 is not amazing coming off the injury, but he has Isaiah Pacheco in the 9th. This was one of those guys that was like I was telling you about with the undrafted rule. So Isaiah Pacheco wasn't drafted in last year's draft, so he was able to have the choice of either taking him in the 8th round for this draft, but then he wouldn't be able to keep Breece Hall, or taking him in the 9th round. Since he didn't have any other late keepers, he decided to go with Pacheco. This fourth guy, he really struggled with his team last year. Obviously, you can tell. So he selected 4th, and he didn't. He decided to just pick overall 4th. So this guy was the one that he lost the league last year. He didn't have very many good keepers like Kirk Cousins and D Hop, or his 2 best. Like, that really kind of sucks in my opinion, but hey, you got to roll. Team 5. This guy, he had a really solid team last year. He probably has the best keepers out there. Tony Pollard in round 7 and Ramondre Stevenson in round 10. These are 2 top guys right now. They're going in both running backs going in round 2 and 3, and he's getting around 7 and 10. Like, I think this guy is off to a hot start in the beginning. Team 6, he gets Ayuk in the 8th, not too bad. And he also has a flyer on Odell in the 16th round, not too shabby. So he didn't have Odell the entire year. He drafted him and then somebody dropped him and he was able to pick him up. But because Odell was taken in last year's draft in the 16th round, he still counts as that value, which is great for that guy. Team 7, this was the winner last year. So we get to keep McCaffrey in the 1st round, and he's keeping Christian Watson in the 7th as well. Team 8, not a bad selection here. He gets to keep Garrett Wilson in the 7th round. That's fantastic value. Jamal Williams in the 13th, not as good, but hey, gotta do what you gotta do. Team 9, you guys might be a little confused. He kept 2 quarterbacks, Mahomes in the 4th and Fields in the 14th. No, this is not a super flex league, so one of those 2 quarterbacks is going to be sitting the bench every week, and it's probably best that he kept this just because they were the best 2 values, and he's going to be trying to trade one as soon as he can before the league starts, kind of thing, before the NFL season starts. So these were just his 2 best options, and honestly, I can't fight him for it at all. Fields in the 14th, that's fantastic value for a guy going around the 5th, 6th round range right now. So then pick number 10, Justin Jefferson in the 1st and Freiermuth in the 10th, not bad. And then you see here, I'm at pick 11. I got Travis Kelce in the 1st round, as I said earlier, which, again, I'm happy about. I expect Travis Kelce to be tight end 1 again next year by a large margin. The fall-off could be coming soon, but I don't think it's this year. And I got Alexander Madison in the 10th. This was a guy I kind of lucked into having a nice keeper with because Dalvin Cook got cut. My original plan was I think I had Rachaad White planned out to be my 9th round keeper, which I was pretty happy about, honestly. since I had Madison, though, I was like, I think he's going to be a better keeper, especially as around later. I thought I'd take my chances. And I'm like, if I get Rachaad White to fall to me in the draft, I might take him again anyway. Then Team 12, this guy, he threw us a little curveball. We were doing some mock drafts earlier on, and he was planning on keeping Tyreek Hill in the first round, which would have been at the 112. But ultimately, he decided to switch up and go with Josh Allen in the 3rd and Calvin Ridley in the 9. This guy's a really big believer in Calvin Ridley. So yeah, let's hop over to the main draft. Let's see what we're working with. So first guy I was telling you about, he went Ja'Marr Chase, Tyreek Hill. So part of the reason why we like to do these keeper drafts is that it refreshes our ADP. Like, it's something new. It's not something we're seeing all the time, like on Underdog. All of these keepers we have, like, will mess up the ADP, and guys will go in different spots. So usually you have those top 6 guys: Chase Hill, Eckler, Chase Hill, Eckler, Christian McCaffrey, Cooper Kupp, and then Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, top 6-7 picks usually. But here, the guy in the 6th selection has to go with a guy like A.J. Brown instead. So Ja'Marr Chase goes first. Obviously, that's expected with Jefferson already off the board, as well as McCaffrey already off the board. I would expect Chase to go there every time. Then we're here stuck with Tyreek Hill. After that, Eckler, Diggs, Kupp, Brown, McCaffrey, Bijan. I was kind of surprised by this Bijan pick, but hey, I don't hate it at all. Jonathan Taylor, he's probably fallen a little bit since then. I will say we drafted a little bit earlier than we should have. That's something that I want to preach to everybody else out there. Like, you want to try to wait as long as you can before you draft. We decided to draft early just because we wanted to be with everybody all at once. We were able to have, like, all the league mates all together at once. So this draft was completed a couple weeks ago, so some of the ADP has probably changed since then. But so then Jefferson, Kelce, you remember those two were our keepers. And the guy at 12 decides to go with Nick Chubb and CeeDee Lamb following that. And here I'm stuck in a bind. I have to decide if I want to go running back or receiver. I already have one running back banked with Alexander Mattison. So here I'm decided between Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jalen Waddle. Guys like that. I really strongly considered Jalen Waddle, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But ultimately, I decided to go with Josh Jacobs. This might have been a little bit of a risky pick. And honestly, since then, his ADP has probably fallen. But I think Josh Jacobs has the highest upside. He's got a higher upside than Derrick Henry. He's got a higher upside than Najee Harris. So for me, Josh Jacobs was the best running back on the board. Yes, his holdout situation's a little bit concerning. But I feel like if Jacobs is on this field, he's going to be getting the volume. He's going to be just the player he was last year, but I think he honestly could be even better this year. I think that with Jimmy Garoppolo coming into the offense, he's not going to be one to force it down the field like Derek Carr. Derek Carr loved to throw the deep ball. And that's also why I'm more towards fading a guy like Devontae Adams. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to favor targeting his running back down low, or his slot guy like Hunter Renfrow. Maybe even newly signed Jacoby Myers could get some decent volume. But that's why I ultimately decided to go with Josh Jacobs. I'm not looking to take a safe pick. Like, I would say, I guess Devontae Adams is a safe pick. Derrick Henry is a safe pick. I'm looking towards, I want to win this league. I think I want to take the guy with the highest upside. That's why I went with Josh Jacobs. I also think Derrick Henry has a potential to maybe fall off soon. I mean, he's 30 years old. He's got to fall off at some point. So I decided to go with Josh Jacobs. Yeah, it could bite me in the butt. I could lose the league on draft day. But I'm not mad about it. I'm taking that risk. I want to win this league. I think Jacobs is the guy that can do it. So after that, the guy right behind me takes Henry. This makes sense because he had Jefferson and Freiermuth, so he wanted to take another running back to take a more balanced approach. Completely understand that. But now that I got two running backs, Jacobs and Madison, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't need to touch running back for a little bit. Like, Madison's not a stud, but I got him as my late value. I can go hammer wide receiver and get this wide receiver looking nice. So a guy that kind of surprised me here was in the team 8. He decided to go with Devontae Smith in the second round. Not a pick I hate, but I wouldn't go with Devontae Smith over Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jalen Waddle most likely. I think ultimately it just comes down to we're a bunch of Eagles fans, most of us in this group at least. We have some Cowboys fans, but most of us, I would say a good at least 2/3 of the group are Eagles fans. So I think that's just why he went mostly. But Team 6, another one of those Eagles fans, he gets a nice little stack of A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. I absolutely love that for his team. I think that's a great start in his first 2 rounds, and he's the guy that got to keep Brandon Ayuk and the flyer on Odell, so not a bad start for him. Team 5, if you remember him, he was the guy that kept Pollard and Ramondre. He gets Kupp at 5, which is crazy. Kupp should not be going behind Stephon Diggs. Maybe with this injury news, Kupp falls a little bit, but still, Kupp, back then, he was clearly over Diggs, and I still think he is. And then he gets Waddle to follow him at 5. Like, Waddle, Kupp, along with Pollard and Ramondre Stevenson, that team sounds so good to start off. And then Najee Harris goes, T. Higgins, and the guy at 1, my man, he got to get the Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow stack. He might have reached a little bit on Joe Burrow, but don't care. You got to go get that stack. That's amazing for him. And then he backs it up with Mark Andrews, who I think is pretty easily going to be tight end 2 on the year, which a majority of people think. So another good start for him. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Mark Andrews, as well as he gets to keep Chris Olave in the 7th round. And he also has Dameon Pierce in the 10th round. Not bad at all. So moving into the 3rd round, Deebo Samuel, I'm pretty vocal about Deebo Samuel as a guy that I hate drafting this year. He's a one-year wonder in my opinion. I think he could be a good football player, but I just don't like I don't like taking San Francisco 49ers that often because other than McCaffrey, obviously. But that's neither here nor there. Breece Hall was kept. Then Keenan Allen, he's another guy I'm slowly shying away from. He's a guy, I think he's just old. He's going to reach that cliff some point. It's going to be soon. And then here's Team 5. Team 5 again. He lands Lamar Jackson in the 3rd round. So usually Lamar Jackson's going to go later, but because of our keeper values, Lamar's going a little bit higher. And I'm not, that's a really good land for him. So now he's got Kupp, Waddle. He's got 2 strong receivers, 2 strong running backs, and now a strong, most likely top 5 quarterback as well. Can't ask for a better start, in my opinion. Team 6 decides to go with Kenneth Walker. He's a guy that I don't hate drafting at ADP. I think it's a little early for him right now, but I would definitely rather take Jahmyr Gibbs over him. The guy after him gets Jahmyr Gibbs, and I would be excited for him. I would definitely rather take Travis Etienne over him. I would probably even rather take Joe Mixon over Kenneth Walker right now, but that's just me. DK Metcalf, the 8th, not terrible. I think this guy in the 8th, I would say he's not one of the better players in the league, but he decides to go with bigger names more often than not. We're moving back down towards the end. So for me, I was thinking if Etienne falls, Etienne is probably the number 1 guy I'm looking for. He would be my RB2 without a doubt. So I would have Jacobs, Etienne, and Alexander Mattison, and I would not have to touch running back for the rest of the draft, honestly, unless I take some flyers on guys. I'd just be solid with those 3. Maybe take one more guy. But that's just from my standpoint of fantasy football. I'm more of a running back heavy type of guy. So I'm always going to resort to taking the running backs. And that's partially why we made those rule changes with adding the 3rd wide receiver. So guys like me, I'm not just hammering running backs all the time. I like to be the running back hoarder, honestly. So after Travis Etienne got taken, I felt like there was kind of a teardrop down into the Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders type of tier. But I was ecstatic to land this wide receiver 1, Amari Cooper. I think Cleveland Browns are going to be a great team to watch this year. And I have Amari Cooper clearly over a guy like Terry McLaurin or Jerry Jeudy, Drake London. I have Amari Cooper clearly over those guys. He was the last guy to fall off in that tier, which made me very happy. And so one other thing I want to talk about is you have to know your opponent. When you're drafting from the 11th spot and the 2nd spot, I think that's especially crucial. You have to know the team that's at the turn. So the guy at the 12 here, I know he kept Josh Allen in the 3rd. So I could take, if I'm at 311 right now, I could take a quarterback like Justin Herbert. But since I know he's already taking Josh Allen, I'm going to leave Justin Herbert. He's not going to take another quarterback. Why would he reach on a guy like Justin Herbert? Or not even reach. Why would he take a guy like Herbert at ADP when he already has a top 3 quarterback? So I decided to easily go with Amari Cooper, the last guy in my tier. If I were to take Herbert in the 3rd round, I think the guy at 12 possibly takes Cooper, and I'm out of luck. I missed the last guy in my wide receiver tier. I missed the last guy in my running back tier. So I decided to go with Amari Cooper. Very excited about that pick. And then I followed up with Justin Herbert in the 4th round. Very excited about that. He was pretty clearly the next guy for me. If I didn't take him, I feel like other guys in that tier, George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, but what am I going to do? I'm not going to take a second tight end. I already got Travis Kelce. I would say maybe I would think about it if we were running a tight end premium league, but that's not something that we're doing for our keeper draft. So Justin Herbert, perfect bang. Give him to me. Put him on my team. Next guy after me goes with Terry McLaurin. Good. You can take him. I want Amari Cooper over Terry McLaurin all day long. Mahomes was kept then after him. Kittle, Hawkinson right after that. Not surprised whatsoever. J.K. Dobbins is a pretty solid pick. I think J.K. Dobbins, if you remember from the other video I made a couple days ago, J.K. Dobbins, this guy I think could have a very good year once again. Miles Sanders, another guy I'm really liking as well. DeAndre Swift, I'm starting to come around to a little more often than I thought. I think Swift could have a pretty good solid job in Philly. I think it could be a little shaky at times considering Hurts could steal some touchdowns and he can run, so he might steal some of the running volume. He also might not dump off to the running back as much, but from what I'm hearing out of camp is that they're having some designed plays to get Swift the ball, like designed more screen passes for him and just routes out of the backfield, which I'm personally here for. I'm excited for that. Very excited to watch this Eagles offense once again this year. So then the guy at Team 3, he decides to go with Dallas Goedert. I think this guy decides to reach on a little, not necessarily a reach, but almost trying to follow the tight end run. Like he saw Kittle and Hawkinson, but I feel like Goddard is like well below a tier of Hawkinson and Kittle. Like I think this guy could have waited till round 5 to take the tight end. He already knew Mark Andrews was taken. Yeah, maybe risk the guy at Team 2 takes him, but I don't think he would have. I don't know. That's just me. But this guy at Team 2 lands Jerry Jeudy, which is pretty nice. And then Team 1 takes his safe guy with James Conner, and this guy's a big Camp Makers truther. So he's got to take his guy. Got to take him and follow in those footsteps. So then Alvin Kamara is next. This was before the news of the suspension. This was looked at the biggest reach in the draft when we had the draft, because normally Alvin Kamara was going around guys like Javonte Williams, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Dillon, guys like that. So this was a little bit of a reach in this point, but this guy, he just thought to himself, he's like, I need another running back. For some reason, he didn't want to go with Dalvin Cook or Rachaad White, but hey, you make your own decisions. He's going to live with it. It ended up working out. Kamara got less of a suspension than people thought. I think Kamara still has that upside to be like a low-end running back 1 if he's lucky. I don't think the chance of that is very high, but I think Kamara could definitely be at least a running back 2, probably more often a mid running back 2 in my opinion. So that guy lucked out a little bit. It's still a little bit of reach, I think, but hey, not bad pick. Team 3 able to land Drake London, not bad. Team 4 gets Darren Waller. The next DJ Moore. So this guy now this Team 5 guy. He's now has 3 running backs, 3 receivers. Oh, and a top 5 quarterback. The only thing he's missing is a solid tight end, but he can figure that out with all of his depth that he already has. Then Team 6 gets Chris Godwin. Then after that, we're followed by Dalvin Cook, Rachaad White. And then it comes back to my pick. And so I had this selection. Right now, currently, I'm sitting with 1 tight end, 1 quarterback, 1 receiver, and 2 running backs already on my squad. So probably looking towards receiver. I don't have to worry about quarterback. Don't have to worry about tight end for a while. Probably not even going to take one of either of those positions for the rest of the draft. Probably just going to hammer running back and receiver the rest of the way. but I already have 2 running backs, so I'm probably going to be looking towards receiver. So Tyler Lockett goes 2 picks ahead of me, as well as Michael Pittman. As I was saying earlier, Rachaad White, he was a guy that I love taking in this kind of range. He was taken 3 picks ahead of me, sadly. So I'm stuck at a spot looking at Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, Christian Kirk, Mike Evans, Deontay Johnson, the guys in that range. So I'm pretty happy with this pick, honestly. I was praying this guy fell to me. I'm not huge on him for the whole year, but I wanted to get that stack. I'm able to land Mike Williams, bang, bang, in the 5-11 to stack with Justin Herbert. Very happy with that. Going to stack those 2 up. If Mike Williams has those big weeks, Justin Herbert, they can carry to me that fantasy championship. So I know this guy after me is not a big Mike Williams guy, but this guy at pick 12 is a very smart fantasy player. I feel like he could possibly have taken Mike Williams to split up my stack. That's why I decided to go with him there. And I also know this guy is a big Hollywood Brown guy. Kyle Pitts is also on the board. He loves Kyle Pitts. Used to love Javonte Williams. This guy at the 12, I think, and I was lucked out with how he picked. He picked Hollywood Brown and Kyle Pitts. Very excited that he's able to take Pitts there. I know he's really hyped for that breakout this year, which could happen, but hey, tight end was not a position I was looking for. You can take him. Hollywood Brown, I think he's okay, but as I said in my video earlier, Christian Kirk, give him to me in the 6th round all day long. I'm taking Christian Kirk over Hollywood Brown. Give him to me. Christian Kirk is my safety receiver. And guess what? He's wide receiver 3. He's going to be putting up solid numbers for me every week. Very excited with how this draft's looking now. Now I got my full starting lineup filled out except for my flex position. And I couldn't be happier with how the team's looking. Then after that, we're going to keep going through the draft. Oh, let's take a look at Team 5's pick again. This guy, he got Jackson Smith and Jigba. So not only does he have Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, he's got 3 solid receivers. He also has his upside pick in Jackson Smith and Jigba that he think that, that towards the end of the year could break out and be even better than the other guys. God, his team is shaping up beautifully. If I'm in his shoes, I'm ecstatic. The only thing he's missing is his tight end, but there's no need to reach when Evan Ingram goes right ahead of you. Team 4, this is where he kept DeAndre Hopkins. We completed this draft at the time that DeAndre Hopkins was not signed with the Tennessee Titans at that point. So, I think that could be a solid pick. So then after that, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, Treylon Burks. Again, this guy probably would not have taken Treylon Burks here at Team 1, but we drafted before the Hopkins news of him signing with Tennessee. So this guy's kind of out of luck here. I think the next guy he would probably take him was Jordan Addison. I know he's not a Kadarius Toney kind of guy. But hey, that's what we get for drafting early. He was one of the guys pushing for drafting earlier a lot. So Team 2, he's a big Kadarius Toney guy. I was talking with him a little bit at the draft. I was trying to help him out a little bit. He's not one of our stronger players. So I convinced him to take Jahan Dotson. He's a guy that I love this year. I did not have any pick with Kadarius Toney. I do not like Kadarius Toney this year. But anyway, he got to make his own pick. So I was like, hey, I think you should take Jahan Dotson, hammer in his 4th receiver. But if you look at his squad, he's got Tyreek, Debo Samuel, Jerry Jeudy. Like, Dotson's his flex play. Or Kadarius Toney. Like, these are just 2 upside guys he's taking, banking on 1 breakout, and he's happy, Team 3, then, Deshaun Watson, I was telling you earlier. Browns team. I love the Browns this year. I think Deshaun Watson has that big bounce back. I'm ready for it. I'm here for it. All right. Then David Montgomery in the 7.4. I know Team 6, he's a big Addison guy. He was very excited to land that guy. J. Dillon Njoku. All right. And then David Njoku goes 2 picks ahead of me. I'm not mad at all. I already got a tight end. You can take them all off the board. Anytime a tight end and a QB is taken now, I'm happy because it's just pushing down the value of wide receivers and running backs towards me. And then I have to be honest, Antonio Gibson went 1 pick ahead of me, which I kind of really like Antonio Gibson. out of the two in the backfield, Washington, Gibson, and Brian Robinson, my personal pick is Antonio Gibson, but who cares what I think? It's all what Ron Rivera thinks. Who's going to get the volume, or Eric Bieniemy. But so coming up to my pick, I got guys like Quentin Johnston, Jameson Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, James Cook, Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju, Gabe Davis. So I'm sitting here. I told you earlier I got my full starting lineup filled out except for a flex, so I can go any which way that I want to. So you know what I decided to go with? I decided to go with another upside play because we all about upside here with Cash Counter. All about the upside. We're going with Quentin Johnston. Another rookie breakout. Oh, and guess what? He's coming to stack with Justin Herbert and Mike Williams again. If anything, I tell you earlier, I'm planning on the Keenan Allen to fall off this year. Oh, man, if Keenan Allen gets injured, Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, and Quentin Johnston are leading me to a fantasy championship, and I couldn't be happier. I'll be making some money if Keenan Allen gets injured this year. That's all I'm going to say. But even if something happens to Mike Williams, I still got that Quentin Johnston in there that he's going to fill in right away, and I'm so excited. Quentin Johnston, he's a guy I have on my dynasty team as well. I'm so excited for him this year. This year, maybe not as much, but in the future, he's going to be so good. Another reason I decided to take him was this guy can be a phenomenal keeper value next year. Keenan Allen could very well be not even on the team next year. And Quentin Johnston, keeping him in the 7th round for next year, that just sounds so good. Could not be more excited. Another thing about just knowing your league mates. I know the guy at Team 12 loves Jameson Williams with all of his heart. Biggest JMO truther. I had Jameson Williams in my dynasty team, and I traded this guy in my other league too. That's how bad I know he likes him. And he also picked Zach Charbonnet because this guy's a big Kenneth Walker hater. But that's fine with me. So it comes back to me with I took a wide receiver last time, so depending on the value of wide receiver running back, I was going to take either one. I could still play a balanced approach. I decided to go with Brian Robinson. It was either him or James Cook for me, honestly. I decided to go with Brian Robinson. I want a piece of the Washington offense. It's a muddy backfield. I don't know. Muddy backfield means somebody could be a league winner if he hits, And I told you this was another part of one of my drafting videos. I'm just going to take whichever Washington running back is cheaper in drafts, whichever one's later. So I'm taking Brian Robinson. I would have been okay with James Cook. Not a guy I'm huge on, but hey. I was still worried about Buffalo maybe possibly signing another running back. But we'll see. I definitely like these two running backs over guys like Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, Juju, Gabe Davis. So in this round, this is where Team 5 lands his tight end 1, Dalton Schultz. Not too shabby. I think Dalton Schultz could be pretty solid for the year. So just looking at his squad, starting lineup looks pretty sexy to me. Team 2, he lands his upside play, Dalton Kincaid, Buffalo tight end. I don't hate it. Hey, he's got to shoot for that upside. He filled out the rest of his lineup already. Already has one guy on the bench with Tony or Dotson. So, hey, I can't hate it. Team 1, he lands Samaje Perine as a 4th running back, which I don't hate at all either. And then he also lands Elijah Moore. So Elijah Moore was, in his mind, supposed to be just a pure upside play or just a pure upside pick. But since Burks kind of got his volume pooped on with DeAndre Hopkins signing, Elijah Moore might be able to fill in more with that Burks role. He just needs one of those two receivers to fill in every week pretty much. And he can fill out flex with his running backs as long as Cam Akers pants out well. All right, moving into round 9. Pretty standard stuff with these running backs. Cole Kmet goes. Again, happy about that. Here's where we see our first kicker taken. And my oh my, could I not be happier. See, I've been talking about this with a few of the other guys here at Cash Counter Sports, and we've been talking about possibly getting rid of kickers and defense in our keeper league just because we think it's more luck-based. Like it's not more about skill. But we decide to leave kickers and defense in simply because we know some of our league mates are going to reach on them and take them way too early. And this guy takes Justin Tucker in the 9th round. And oh, it was hilarious. Oh, everybody starts cracking up. And then Thielen gets taken 1 pick ahead of me. And we come back to Damian Harris. Damian Harris, Zay Flowers, Alexander Madison. Or I had Madison, sorry. Damian Harris, Zay Flowers, then Jerick McKinnon. Like, those guys are all around this range. So I decided to go with Damian Harris. Hindsight 2020, I personally probably would have taken Zay Flowers. I feel like Zay Flowers is a pretty solid selection. I'm all aboard the Zay Flowers train, I'm not going to lie. Actually, quick betting tip, I'm thinking about taking some Zay Flowers value at leading rookie receiver in receiving yards, but plus 1,000 over on FanDuel, but that's besides the point. I decided to go with Damian Harris. I'm taking him as my RB4. I look at Damian Harris as a guy that I think, I don't believe in James Cook that much, you know. I look at Damian Harris as a guy that I think he could fill that Jamal Williams type of role that he had on the Lions last year. I think Damian Harris could fall into the end zone, dare I say, double-digit times this year. If that happens, I'm ecstatic. So, hey, I'm willing to take that shot on Damian Harris. He's a high-octane backup running back. If something ever happens to James Cook, you know Damian Harris is getting all that volume in that backfield. They don't have anybody else. They don't trust Nyheim Hines. They're not giving it to anybody else unless they sign another running back. But they signed Damian Harris in the offseason for a reason. So I think they're going to use him in that goal line situation, which could help me out, you know. And I don't have a pick in the 10th round because of Madison. And that's okay. And then we see in the 10th round again, we see defense is starting to go off the board. That same guy at Team 9, he picked a defense. We see some quarterbacks, some guys going with Geno Smith. This guy, Team 7, goes with Jared Goff. Love that pick. He decides to get the triple stack on Detroit Lions with Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Like I said, this guy, Team 7, he's an experienced player. He won the league last year. And his roster construction looks very solid, in my opinion. So, hey, I love that. McCaffrey, Gibbs, starting every week with Amon-Ra, Deontay Johnson, and then he's got either Christian Watson or Michael Thomas to fill in. And then he can play Dalvin Cook in the flex when he signs somewhere, or he can play either the other one of Michael Thomas, Watson. And then he's got his safety valve receiver that he gets in the next round. And he also has Hawkinson, a top tight end, with Goff's a little bit of a lower quarterback, but he's stacking, so it's well worth it in my opinion. Then we're moving around. Nothing else crazy happens the rest of the draft, except I do get a nice piece. So I get Rashad Bateman in the 11th round. He's usually going up next to Zay Flowers. So Rashad Bateman wasn't a guy I was huge on. I'm starting to build a little bit more on him, but he falls to me in the 11th round, and I'm very excited to take him. I'm like, heck yeah, give him to me. Then I take Kendre Miller in the 12th. With the Kamara suspension, I was hoping Kendre Miller would be able to get a little bit of time, but I think Kendre Miller could get snaps over Jamal Williams. I think Kendre Miller could also just be the better back in general over Jamal Williams and just get touches even when Kamara's playing. So then I get Jalen Hyatt in the next round, just a rookie receiver. I think he's got a chance. The Giants' offense is muddy. They don't have a full receiving target. I think Darren Waller's going to be the number 1 target, but other than that, they got nobody. So, hey, I'm taking a shot on Jalen Hyatt. If he hits, again, 13th round, that's a massive keeper for next year. Part of our keeper value is I'm taking a lot of young guys in the late rounds, hoping on that breakout, so I have a monster keeper for next year. So I took Raheem Mostert. Again, not a guy I love. Just, hey, he could look into some volume if somebody gets hurt. Kicker and defense, and I decided to go with Jordan Love in the last round. Banking on some upside. He could be a nice keeper for the next year if I need it, But yeah, overall, very happy with this team. Really excited to take a look. Like I said, I'm playing it a little risky, taking Jacobs early, taking triple stack on Los Angeles Chargers. But I think my team has the chance to win it all this year. Thank you guys for showing out. Appreciate you watching all the way to the end of this video. Let me know what you want to see in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Thank you.